Welcome back to Turkish series stars. Today we sit with a story that seems to bend the ground under our feet, the kind of revelation that turns whispers into thunder and makes even the most seasoned fans stop scrolling and listen. If you follow the inner rhythms of celebrity life, the triumphs, the tender moments, and yes, the heartbreaks, what we're about to lay out will keep you glued. The date is today, November 6, 2025, and the headline speaks for itself. Shocking news about Barış Baktas and Yağmur Yüksel is shaking everyone, and it's not just a splash, it's a tidal wave. For months, and truthfully even longer than that, we've watched the palpable, steady warmth between Barış and Yağmur. At premieres and quiet charity galas, in magazine spreads and clipped live interviews, they moved in sync, exchanging half-smiles that seemed to hold conversations of their own. They learned each other's rhythms in public, built a seemingly unbreakable pact in private, and offered their fans a portrait of modern love that felt both aspirational and, somehow, achievable. Their admirers dissected every moment, a hand squeeze, a glance, a joke delivered at just the right time. Projects whispered in the pipeline, talk of evolving together, and a relaxed confidence that made it feel as if the best was still unfolding. And then, without warning, came the abrupt twist no one had on their bingo card. Early this morning, images found their way online. Grainy at first, then frighteningly crisp as more angles surfaced, and minutes later, official notes began circulating. The unthinkable became unavoidable. Barış and Yağmur, the couple so many thought had weathered every storm, have parted ways. Yes, it's real. The two have chosen separate paths. In a world where breakups happen all the time, what cuts deepest isn't the fact of separation itself, but the context, the timing, and the dust cloud of mystery kicking up around it. Initial messaging used the familiar language, mutual respect, gratitude, a request for privacy, and a promise to carry on with dignity. The kind of statement polished enough to settle nerves and general enough to leave room for hope. But as the morning expanded into a restless afternoon, the online pulse got louder. Hushed rumors picked up speed, gathered names, and put forward a possibility that complicates everything. It's being said that there is a third person in the mix. Not a distant acquaintance or a stranger from nowhere, but someone unexpectedly close, a presence woven into both their worlds, someone who, from time to time, stood beside them at events and even crossed paths on set. Social media ignited. Tags with their names vaulted to global trends, comments stacked in dense columns, and the fandom split into camps. Some mournfully pledged support, choosing tenderness over speculation. Others took the investigative route, following digital breadcrumbs with a zeal that would make any newsroom proud. A smaller corner watched from the balcony seats, calling it the show business cycle playing out as it always does. It was inevitable that message boards would turn into impromptu detective bureaus, maps and strings in the mind, piecing together every public appearance and interview answer like it might hold the secret code. We've been combing through what we can verify and carefully weighing what we cannot, speaking to voices close enough to sense the drafts behind the curtains. According to those who know the rhythm of their days, the shift was sudden, so subtle at first that it could have been mistaken for fatigue, a busy season, a missed breakfast. Sources say it was Barış who first felt the space growing, noticing how conversations that used to come like second nature began to land with a small thud. He tried to read the room differently, to slow down, to ask more, to forgive the unanswered. But when the cracks begin to widen, good intentions do not always hold the wall. And then the rumor that set everyone off, whispers that Yağmur had a meaningful encounter with someone else while she and Barış were still officially together. Let's be crystal clear, we are not naming names, because nothing solid has tied this beyond the echo chamber of online talk and a handful of suggestive sightings. But the shadow being traced is someone familiar, a figure who has shared panels and red carpets with them, who appears in old photos, who blends into the same professional circles that unite so many in this industry. You don't have to imagine too hard to feel the sting of that possibility, the jolt, the breathless pause, the long night with a phone face down and ceiling unanswered. Those aligned with Barış describe a man deeply wounded, not simply by the end itself, but by what it might say about the bridge between them. He is, by nature, steady, he often comes across as grounded, someone who carries storms in his shoulders without making the room feel the rain. He reportedly believed in a horizon they had sketched together, was ready to wrestle with whatever ordinary friction came with two high-velocity careers. But when you suspect you've been watching two stories run at once, yours and someone else's, the floor pitches. Trust doesn't just crack, it tilts, it disorients. From the other side, voices sympathetic to Yağmur and those who understand her quiet, thoughtful temperament suggest a longer drift at work, something more nuanced than a single night or sudden switch. They point to conversations that looped without resolution, to mismatched schedules that made simple things like breakfast a logistical knot, to differences in how each of them needed to be loved. The talk leans away from blatant betrayal and toward the murkier realm of an emotional bond that grew where it shouldn't have, perhaps without intent, feeding on proximity and unspoken needs until it cast a shadow over what she had with Barış. Whether that soft explanation holds water or merely softens a blow remains to be seen. What is undeniable is the aftershock. Fans of Barış have opened their arms wide, flooding timelines with messages of solidarity, old clips of him laughing between takes, quotes about resilience and renewal. Others rally behind Yağmur, invoking her right to seek a version of happiness that fits, reminding us that relationships can collapse under the weight of misalignment just as easily as scandal. And of course, some viewers, craving the next twist, treat each new rumor like a cliffhanger, refreshing feeds for the next tiny puzzle piece. Stories like this, uncomfortable as they are, underline a truth we often pretend to forget: fame does not armor the heart. Behind the lighting and the lens flares, behind the interviews and immaculate styling, there are fragile routines, missed calls, misread signals. Even the couples we elevate to storybook status wrestle with the same quiet battles: how to be understood, how to feel safe, how to make time in a world that eats it. So where do we go from here? We wait for the dust to settle and for words from the people at the center. Will Barış speak directly, addressing the hum beneath the official note? Will Yağmur offer her perspective, naming the strain that pulled the threads loose? Are there projects that will shift because of this, joint plans that now need rethinking, premieres that will require careful choreography to avoid awkward split screens? The next chapter hasn't been drafted yet, but the page has undeniably turned. What we can say with care is that this is a complicated, human situation. It's tempting to choose a hero and a villain instantly, to fit a real relationship into the tidy architecture of a plot. But intimacy rarely obeys script notes. If there is a third person, that doesn't cancel the months, years, of genuine connection. If there were long-term issues, that doesn't erase the shock of an unexpected reveal. Everyone involved is standing in a different kind of ache. And until the principals speak, certainty will be hard to come by. In short, the headline that broke across feeds today, November 6, 2025, is this: the relationship between Barış Baktas and Yağmur Yüksel has ended, and the circumstances look messier than a clean declaration of incompatibility. Rumors of a third party hover, suggestions of an emotional detour complicate the narrative. The sense is that Barış has been deeply affected by how it all unfolded. The entertainment world is wide-eyed, timelines are burning, and the future chapters of this story are unwritten and in flux. Thank you for staying with us through this emotional unpacking. Now we want to hear your voice. Did you see this coming, or does it feel like it came out of a clear sky? What do you make of the whispers swirling around their inner circle? Drop your thoughts below, we will be reading. And if you want to keep your finger on the pulse of stories like this as they break, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Turkish series stars. We'll be here, sifting rumor from reality, bringing you what matters most with care and clarity, and following every turn in the road for as long as this story keeps moving. Before we wrap, a gentle reminder: public figures may live under a magnifying glass, but they're still people trying to make sense of their lives. As we continue to track this with respect, we encourage conversation that is empathetic and grounded. We will report developments as they become concrete and verified, and we won't be naming any alleged third parties without confirmation. Until then, hold space for both of them and for the possibility that the truth, when it arrives, will be layered, painful, and more human than any headline can hold. We're keeping our lines open, our ears to the ground, and our updates ready. This is Turkish series Stars, and we'll be back the moment there's more to say.